chess number 12, and I will be speaking, and we rather will be speaking for the motion of that the youth are drifting away from faith under the pretense of fellowship and action.
Good evening to one and all present here. I am Speaker 1. My name is Ann Vijay.
I'm Speaker 2. I am Jaden James.
And we'll be speaking against the motion that is youth drifting away from faith under the pretext of fellowship and action.
Respected members of the jury, my worthy opponents, and my dear friends. Today, as I stand to talk in favor of the notion that the youth are indeed drifting away from the belief system and faith that the church teaches us under the pretense of fellowship and action, I am reminded of the very famous words of St. Augustine, who rightfully said, "Pray as though everything depended on God, but rather work as everything depended on you." Here, I would like to start off with a question. Are we today becoming a generation that is just working like everything depends on us? Have we stopped being the kind of church people, the community of God that also believe that we have to pray like everything depends on God? We often go about saying it's very important to walk the faith, walk the talk. Are we actually walking the faith in today's lives? We come together as a group, we come together as a collective. Are we actually walking the faith, or are we actually just walking what applies or finds applicable in the social construct of today? Have you today become a generation who have found inability to distinguish between social goodness, social well-being, and the love of God? I would like to go back, looking back in hindsight, on a 2017 survey by the Lifeway, who remarked that 66% of children leave church after high school. Oh, why talk about Lifeway surveys? Let me talk about a data piece that one of the Dexcos happened to give me. I happen to understand that there were about 1,000 participants in the illustrious Father Sunny Memorial Choir competition. Just about 3 weeks later, when we had our very own diocesan youth retreat, the turnout came all the way down to 40. Have we become rather a generation of youth who come together as a collective to promote and propagate our talents, our belief systems, but fail to thank the Lord who gave us all? Finally, as I end, I would like to go back and ask each one of us, are we right people today who go back and thank God for all He's given us? In the words of St. John Mary Vianney, "He when tempted makes the sign of the cross, makes the hell tremble, but the heaven rejoice." Thank you.
Faith is like taking the first step even when you don't see the staircase. Before I start, I would like to quote the Catechism of Catholic Church. Quotes that, what is faith? Faith is a virtue that makes us believe in one God, who is the truth himself. Now, my opponent asked a question that, have we stopped being the people that God wants us to be? Have we stopped being what God wants us to be? The answer to this question is that we have gathered here today, right? We have come here together as a community, prayed together. We have prayed together, we have done rosaries, we have done masses, right? And we have come here together. Talentia in itself is an example that we have not stopped being the people that God wants us to be. We are still connected in faith. First of all, we know that church provides a lot of services, and one of them is church support groups for people who are recovering from addiction, severe types of addiction like drugs and alcohols. Church is always there for you. Faith is always there for you. You go to any religious institution and you can get your psychological aid. Further, the issue of fellowship and action. The fact that youth today may be drifting away from church, but we forget that the glass is always half full. There's always youth that decides to stay with the church voluntarily. And that is the youth we want. People will leave under the pretext of fellowship and action. But we want the people who actually want to stay. Now we have a lot of woke culture and cancel culture going on in the social media, and one of the most controversial things is pro-life and pro-choice. As there is this debate that church is going pro-choice or faith is going pro-choice, do you think our youth is not doing anything to remain pro-life? No, it is. Euthanasia, mercy killing, being illegal, is the youth not doing anything? It is. So when we talk about concepts or tragedies or anything youth is doing, hence I would like to conclude that youth is not drifting away.
The youth is not drifting away from faith under the pretense of fellowship and action. It is the youth of the church which initiate community services, such as helping the underprivileged sections of the society, feeding the poor, visiting orphanages and old age homes. It is the youth which take prime responsibility for all of this. It is also the youth who take charge of organizing meetings, bringing the youth together. And take a classic example of today. If it wasn't for the youth who propagated TALENTIA, who would? So the real question is the youth really drifting away from the church? Thank you.
My worthy opponent just rightfully mentioned how integral Talentia is in promoting our faith as the youth. But in the same context, I just want to ask two questions, not just to my worthy opponents. I'd like to present it to my judges and the audience right there. Just a shadow of thought. How many of us actually go back and thank the Lord, irrespective of what the result turns out to be? Because it is in that gray area that our faith is actually tested. And moreover, I completely agree that Talentia has become an incredible platform for each one of us to live our faith, come together as a community. But the question which tests our faith has to be, do we really need Talentia as a forum to promote and inculcate faith in our youth after spending 12 long years in catechism?
What we win with entertainment, we will only win them with entertainment.
My dear worthy opponent, okay, most of us may not go back and thank the Lord, but I'm sure that if we win here today, I will go back and thank the Lord. Surely. I don't know about you, but I would. Anybody sitting here would. Because obviously, you are here, come here together, you have prayed together, you have sat here in dances and skits and everything. You have to thank the Lord, and people will. And that's it. There's no or but or if or maybe.
Let me also add that when you spoke about catechism 12 years, then you should also know that in catechism it was told, thank the Lord for everything that happens in your life.
So exactly what my question was. I'm sure either of us who wins will definitely go and thank the Lord. But our faith is actually tested in that gray area. Whether we stick to God in success and in defeat. In success, it's just courtesy. If someone hands me a chocolate out here, I'll still say thank you. But if someone looks at me and makes a frown, do I still go back to them? Hello, brother. Hello, sister. Are you okay? That is where love comes. And the biggest beauty of it is the faith of God relies deep inside. It is founded in, the faith is deeply founded in the love of God. And if you don't experience it, you cannot pretend over that gray area of faith.
See, when we win youth with entertainment, then we'll win them with entertainment alone. As a youth are quite ill-equipped to face with the challenges that they have in this world right now.
As my worthy opponent said, the youth is helping others. So is that drifting away from faith or still staying in faith? Because that's what your faith teaches you. Help your brothers and sisters. Let me also add that it is the youth which are bringing and implementing digitalization practices in the church. Let's take a classic example of COVID. When masses were to be live streamed, it was the youth which took the responsibility of coming ahead, setting up the cameras and ensuring that the faith was still propagated to people despite them being stuck at homes.
See, that's exactly our point. What the points that you said, we are completely agreeing with that. That every platform that has been provided by the church is a great platform. But the question that arises now is whether it is coming out of faith or out of helplessness or out of stubbornness or out of desperation.
See, you say that you have attended 12 years of catechism. I'll reiterate again. This is what catechism taught you all. The faith of Christianity is help others, be good to humankind and everything. What you are today is because of the learning that you've drawn from catechism. And that is why, how are you drifting from the faith? You're still in faith.
But going on that, the 10 commandments summarized into 2. The second half, very well said, is to love your brother and sister. But the first summarization of the 10 commandments, my friend, never forget it, is to love the Lord thy God above yourself, not just your brothers and sisters.
Okay, wait. Yes, you have to love your God above everyone. So how is that aiding to the point you are making?
That's exactly the point that you are making, because faith comes only under love. Respected judges, members of the jury, my audience and my dear worthy opponents. Most church youth programs today tend to focus on providing entertainment and entertainment alone, rather than building up a young future and rather than building up the faith for the people. So what we are saying is that youth isn't doing much. Youth is doing much. But it is not coming out of faith, but rather it is coming out of desperation, helplessness. We are not at all taught to intellectually examine the skeptics of the Catholic Church at all. Train a child in the way he should go, and he will definitely go in that way and explore new paths. We are not at all taught to explore into new paths. As my friend said here, the number of participants for DYR this year was just 40, wherein Sunny Choir had 1,000 participants. That itself shows faith is lowering down in today's youth right now. If we win the youth today with entertainment, we will win them with entertainment only. Faith is required for this generation of youth, mainly because the life today that we struggle with is quite a lot than what it was 10 years back. I thank my speech. I thank you each and everyone.
To conclude, the youth is definitely not moving away from the faith, be it in terms of initiating community services, be it in terms of helping the church by propagating that abortion is not good, or be it in terms of helping the church keep in pace with the progressing times in terms of digitalization and everything. The youth is definitely with the church in everything it does, and that is why I will conclude by reasserting that the youth is definitely not moving away from the faith. Thank you so much.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, audience, for the great support, and thank you for the opponents.
Thank you, everyone.